The Lonesome Man. Like horses and buffalo, rabbits and mice, like the wind and her sailor, the thief and the night. We all settle down for the lonesome man's tale, for eagles may pray and hermits sing songs, yet late in the day her callings do fail. But we all listen to the lonesome man's tale. Over bridges and streams, with great pines aplenty, sitting in shadows of great mountains glare. The cabin is bare, no tapestries nor rugs caress wooden sides. No baking bread nor linen line the table. Logs combust slowly, the glow-blazing shadows. A soul-rocking chair creaks a sad fable. The lonesome man sits, he smokes puffing halos. Skittish fairies peek in to whisper strange myths, while the fire begins to simmer and hiss. The lonesome man stands, his bones cracking and stiff, each stride to the entrance, a journey itself. His opening door brings summer night airs. Their cascading winds ruffle the lonesome man's hair, each gale watched by the forest's eyes. Looking up to the sky, the stars stand still and bright. He thinks to himself, tonight is when the wicked awake. Piles of wood are stacked tightly without care. The lonesome man gathers his logs for the fire and hurries back to his hearth. Shutting the door, his hands slightly tremble. Tonight is not the night for cowardly fools. He crosses his heart, his prayers rarely answered. Tonight is not the night for earthly men. Another log on the fire causes dancing of flames, warmth and light to the dark summer haze. Crouching down, watching their flicker, the lonesome man pokes and prods. He creates their glitter. Biting the flesh, the spark dies a quick death. The lonesome man curses under his breath. The fire roars to life. He covers his eyes from the fire's blaze. Heat licks surrounding space, leaving the lonesome man untouched. Terror ceases to falter, and shading his vision, the lonesome man stares. The fire quickens. It changes colors, purpose without flare. In the hearth, shapes start to take form. Tiny glow bugs and crashing ocean waves. Mountains stand tall, then fall to great trees. Deer, beavers, dogs, and men flee hideous beasts. Then lo and behold, a great elk starts to thrash. Its antlers are bold and brash. The lonesome man begins to weep for the great elk's soon demise, as the creature looks deep into his eyes. Pain and torture scorches its being, but in soul holds power that's kind and good. As light calms down, the fire's genesis returns. The lonesome man stays crumpled upon the floor, this vision burning holes in his head. Crawling back to his rocking chair, he simply ponders, what meaning could flames truly hold? Turning back to his pipe, his thoughts start to wander. The glens, meadows, and valleys, like friends written upon hand, could only dream thoughts of the lonesome man. I am no fool, nor one of fancy. I am a practical, simple man. But these devil's whispers haunt my mind. If I do nothing, I'll not leave it behind. Into his cupboards the lonesome man searches, a hat, a coat, a cane, and a lantern. The doorknob felt heavy in the lonesome man's hand. Which way to hell, which way to salvation? Are these all dreams in some other one's head? Feel the dark and feel the heaven, but only gods watch the lonesome man's departure. The path is laden with needles, the dark is thick as honey. Trees are tall as steeples. Each careful step tells years of the able. Yards turn to miles through uncomfortable silence. Parting of branches show stars unwatching. The lonesome man's grip tightens. His breathing gradually evens. Freeing his mind, ideas start to take form. The cliffs, the rivers, and more. Opportunist dangers possibilities can hold. In truth, there was nowhere to go. In the end, he could say he attempted. The Lonesome Man begins to head back when a glow bends and stretches on his peripheral vision. Squinting his eyes, he spots a furor of shapes. Creatures tall and thick as an old maple move in effortless circles. Laughing and calling, they jeer. A parting of paths, a calling starts to imply. The decision is made, a fool's job has begun. Stalking the misty beams, he darts around trees. Adjusting his cap, the creatures come into focus. The humanoid demons, their width tall and unproportionately thick, lulling their heads with each crackle. Oh, we're thick as thieves, devouring innocence, the people they scream, the cowarding insolence. We are the night, the rock and stone and ice. Put up a fight and we'll teach you it's right. Oh, we're thick as thieves, devouring innocence. They sing their throaty ditty. The Lonesome Man hunkers down to watch. The beasts jump high, then pounce low, in a primitive dance which only they know. Round and round they circle on hooves, talons, and claws. A great bellow erupts from the clearing. Creatures chatter without omission. A demon larger than the rest clomps into sight, his presence more than height. Friends, his voice quakes. Tonight is a night from which we rise from the prison beneath. Prophets told of the way, gorging on the flesh of the good we take. From behind the trees, two more creatures wrestle a shape. Dragging it from the shadows, cheers erupt. The Lonesome Man's stomach drops as recognition sets in. It is the great elk. Fur white from age, antlers glorious and thick, the great elk stands as a masterpiece. Each leg is tied to another, blood oozing over downy white. For the second time, the Lonesome Man and the great elk lock eyes. No fear, pain, nor love is given to the other. Only faith bound the fates of the elk and man. As the great elk stumbles into the center of the horde, the Lonesome Man creeps closer. Even though he could have left, the Lonesome Man swallows his fear. The demons are distracted. Now is the time. The time is now. His hand dug in the ground for a sharp rock. Lighting his lantern, he takes a deep breath. The sacrificial glow laminates as it flies across the clearing. Startled beasts look at the clatter in shock. The Lonesome Man's ears begin ringing as he jumps out of the shadows. A quick whack at their knees causes his enemies to tumble. To his friend, the Lonesome Man sprints. The great elk bucks and calls. Demons still slack-jawed in shock. As the Lonesome Man saws the bindings, the creatures realize their findings. Their meal almost free, they howl and charge. Quick as a wink, the great elk starts to flee. The Lonesome Man's glee causes a shout, "Don't leave without me." Wrapping arms around neck, he is pulled off his feet. Clinging with all his might, trees flash by as they pass in their flight. With a struggle, the Lonesome Man swings his legs over the great elk's back. Glancing behind, he sees their pursuers. Mouths foaming in fury, the creatures keep up their pace. The Lonesome Man prays that they'll soon be free. For the first time in his life, the Lonesome Man's wish comes to life. In morning mist, the sun begins her ascent. The fireball's arms, sweeping through the forest, brush beckons the earth to mingle. The demons thought not to notice, for their minds were prim and focused. The Lonesome Man holds tight to his wild ride as he squints his eyes. From darkness comes truth, but from dawn comes life. His spirits brightened, the Lonesome Man thinks. The great elk starts to stumble. The river, my friend, we must away to her," he calls to his companion. Not long later, the great elk descends upon watery banks. Holding tight, they emerge into the river's deep comfort. The creatures do not hesitate to follow. They struggle, then fall, one after the other, until all their fellows find solace in the river's depths. The fiends are dead, the world rejoices. Upon the watery banks our duo finds balance. Shaking water from fur, the great elk nudges his savior. The Lonesome Man stands on his feet to give a deep bow. His foul work is complete. Shoulder to shoulder, the two make way through greenery, the sun rising overhead, greeting them gaily. Man and elk, mutual insignificance, wandering the earth. Like the moon and sun, soil and rain, what purpose does the other one hold? Over clouds and sky, through willows and roads, fallen stars with sugary rose, we all listen for the other one's tale.